The Art of Leadership Network.
Hey leaders, welcome to the LeadCulture Podcast. We're part of the Art of Leadership Network. I'm your host, Jenni Catron, CEO of the Foresight Group. We're a company dedicated to helping leaders develop thriving teams. Each week, I'll be your guide as we explore practical strategies to equip you with the tools you need to lead with clarity, confidence, and build unstoppable momentum in your organization. My mission is to be your trusted coach, empowering you to master the art of self-leadership so you'll learn to lead yourself well so you can lead others better. Each week, we take a deep dive on a leadership or a culture topic. You'll hear stories from amazing guests and leaders like you who are committed to leading well. So let's dive in and keep learning on this leadership journey together. Today, you are getting to kind of sit in on two really dear friends having a just thoughtful conversation around our heart for teams, our heart for building healthy teams. You're going to hear from my dear, dear friend, Ashley Warren. Ashley is the Chief Operating Officer of Downs Books Incorporated, a media company based in Nashville, Tennessee. Combining the communications, culture, and team building experience she gained as an educator and then the director of employee culture at a large multi-site church, that's where we worked together, Ashley now leads the team that supports the work of author, speaker, podcaster, Annie F. Downs. And I know you all know Annie. Annie is a longtime friend, a phenomenal leader, and somebody you need to be listening to for sure. Now, Ashley is passionate about creating a culture of clarity and care that allows every team member space to thrive. And that's what you're going to hear from our conversation today. I wanted to have Ashley on the podcast. You'll hear a bit of our backstory. We've worked together in a couple different capacities. She was with us on the team at Foresight for a bit. We worked for 8 or 9 years together at a mega church in Nashville. And in those seasons, we had such a unique opportunity to really shape culture together and kind of learn together as we go. So much of the LeadCulture framework that I reference and that we do when we're working with organizations was really birthed in those years at the church in Nashville. And so Ashley was right there with me as we were figuring some of that out. And so you're going to hear us talk about some of those moments and those memories of just kind of finding our way through the importance of building healthy culture, healthy team. And you're going to love Ashley's heart. Her heart for the care of a team is none other. And so she just provides some valuable insight into how to think about the care of your team as a leader. So here's my conversation with my dear friend, Ashley Warren. Ash, how fun to have you back on the podcast. You were actually on the podcast it feels like a long time ago. It's been a little bit ago. It has
been a long time ago. I'm so honored to be here.
Well, anytime you and I get time to catch up, we spent a lot of time pre-recording, all the catch up on life and all the things. But
that's right.
But I love talking culture with you. And I really was excited for the listeners to just kind of hear an update on where you are. Because I think when you were on the podcast last, might have been when you were doing some work with us at Foresight, doing some of the culture workshops with us.
I think you're right.
And then our dear friend Annie F. Downs stole you and you joined her team as the Chief Operating Officer, which I'm like,
it's true.
It was a good move.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I like to keep you around, but it's a good move.
One of the things, I learned in a season of transition and doing some freelance work and sitting kind of with a really beautiful opportunity to sit with two teams at once, your team and Annie's team, kind of just having to come face to face with the self-awareness that I'm built to be on one team and to plant myself and focus in support of one vision. And that of course, involves letting go in some places that, what fun to have been involved in those years at Foresight and knowing that neither organization was getting the best of me when I was feeling divided. So hard letting go. And also look at us now, Jen.
I was going to say, that's the thing I talk to leaders all the time about is, being open-handed with, of course, we want to attract and retain the best people and build amazing teams. But there's also that recognition of seasons. And you and I have had the privilege of working with each other in a couple of different seasons. And now we just work with you in a little bit different capacity because, again, Annie's a great friend and we're champions of what you guys do and vice versa. And just being open-handed about recognizing that God moves people on in some seasons and just being confident that, as we follow that, his faithfulness in that journey. And like you said, for you, that recognition and self-awareness of being full-time on a team, giving that focused energy is how you work best. And that's absolutely true. And so for me, it is such joy to watch you thrive and flourish and lead that team so well. So it's, I joke, but I fully believe that it's the right seat for you right now. So
thank you.
Tell everybody about your role at Annie, or it's Downs Books, technically.
Yes.
Tell us about being Chief Operating Officer at Downs Books.
Yeah. So as the COO at Downs Books, we are a media company in support of Annie F. Downs as an author, speaker, and podcaster, among other things. She wears multiple hats, this one. And so she has been a published author for over a decade and just writes beautiful memoir type, faith-based books. And then she has, an amazing podcast called That Sounds Fun. Yes. And then this year launched a second podcast called Let's Read the Gospels, which is a really, really beautiful project to be a part of. And then she does live events and touring all over the place. We toured in June. I got to go with her. It was so fun and important that the touch base with the people on the other side of our work, getting face-to-face time with them and getting to hear their stories and see what, makes them come alive in a room together. Just priceless. So my day-to-day is serving the team that I'm just cuckoo about. We have an amazing team, and then we work really closely. We're a small team, so we work really closely with the That Sounds Fun Network, which is a podcast network that Annie co-owns, and then we also work really closely with a management team who helps kind of broker deals and do negotiations and marketing strategy with us. So there's a lot of making sure that communication is staying high and clear. And then, probably the thing that is closest to my heart is just making sure people have what they need to do what they have been invited to do to the very best of their ability.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. So you and I, we first connected when I worked at CrossPoint. You came on staff, and I feel like together we kind of found our way in shaping staff culture. I don't think either one of us knew that was in our job title, but it was I think there was a level of passion for both of us around the care of the team and knowing, gosh, if we can steward the team well, the ability to achieve the mission just is amplified. Right. And so I'm curious for you, when did you kind of realize that passion for team culture? Because I think it kind of was a gradual aha for me, but I don't know if I've ever asked you that question specifically. I feel like I've always known you with an eye for the care of a team, but I'd be curious when you feel like that developed for you.
It's a great question, Jenni. And I honestly, when I look at trying to trace it back, I think it actually had its genesis in my time as a classroom teacher. I was a high school teacher for several years before I came into ministry until you invited me out of that classroom and onto the team with you at Cross.
So I've been guilty of stealing from a time or two. So
I call it an invitation.
There we go.
But I, in that environment, I had these 4 times a day. I had a new group of people who were under my care and supervision. We had very clear goals. Thank you to the state curriculum. So our vision was preset. And within that, I got to like look at this room full of, 25, 30 ninth graders and be like, okay, here are the personality dynamics we've got going on. Here are the, the challenges that we might be facing together. And then here are our goals. And kind of taking all of that into account. How do we together move this forward as close as we can to the goals without losing the magic that is in the combination of all of these souls in the same place.
Yeah.
And so I think, because it was a fun puzzle, frustrating and challenging puzzle sometimes. But to know like, oh, okay, later in the day, we're going to have to do things a little differently. It could be the same lesson, but because of the makeup of the class and the energy that they're bringing in, my approach might need to change, or, it's the difference between lights off and lights on or whatever. Yeah. There are just these discoveries to be made when a group of people is put together in pursuit of a common goal.
Yeah.
And so mining for the magic within a group just fascinates me. And I find it to be really, rewarding feels almost trite, but it is. It's just rewarding to be able to look back and point their attention to look how far we've come together.
That's right.
Look what we accomplished together.
Yeah.
And so there's just nothing like it. And so that's where it started. And then getting to, like you said, continue to discover and unearth and shape a group of people in pursuit of perhaps the highest, vision and calling within the local church. Just,
so fun. There's
so fun.
There's something really special about that. I think like, as much as I am such an independent person, like I think in some ways when I reflect on my journey, it's such a funny little surprise to see how my passion for teams has just like exponentially grown, because there's such joy in seeing a team work effectively together to achieve a mission, right?
Right.
Like, one of the ways that I sometimes will talk about culture is it's the stewardship of people in pursuit of the mission, right? There's this, and you define that, right? The understanding of their gifts and their unique dynamics, and then that uniqueness of what happens when that group is together, like, and understanding that and nuancing your approach as a leader, all for the benefit of bringing out their best giftedness in alignment with what we're trying to achieve. And when that happens, it is magical. Like it is, there's really just energizing and fulfilling in that.
Yes.
I, when I think back, because, for the listeners, you and I got to work together, I think about 8 or 9 years, if I'm right. And I often credit you. And I often tell a story about how you were one of those people in my life that really helped me slow down to see people. That's like one of those phrases I have to keep in front of myself, because I don't have to tell you this, I'm such a driven, focused, make it happen, take action type of leader. And I would often be a bit of a bulldozer relationally because of that. Like I just, it was like I saw the opportunity and the task and the potential first. And then it would be like, oh, and yet like this group of people, how are they feeling about this? And
right.
Like you often, I remember, and I might have like embellished this story in my mind since it happened, but there was, I don't know what we were doing, but there was like a staff meeting that I think I was sharing some big new initiative that we were about to embark on. Like, it was like, guys, this is going to be amazing. We're going to do this thing, and here's what it's going to require. And it was probably really overwhelming, but just sounded exciting to me in my visionary, conquer the next hill kind of mindset. Right. And I remember you and I were debriefing together in my office, and, I'm excited about it. And I'm like, okay, Ash, how do you think they felt? And you kind of paused and you were like, well, in your very gracious way, you were like, I think they see the vision. I think they get it. But Jen, I think they're a little tired. And I was like, what? They're tired. And we'd probably just done some other really big initiative, that we wasn't even completely finished. And again, I don't remember the specifics. I just remember you said that. And I think I kind of brushed it off. And then you walked out, and at some point later, I don't know how much time went by, and I invited you back in, and I was like, okay, wait, tell me more. Because you had that awareness and sensitivity of what was happening with the team. And it was such a valuable counterpart to my drivenness as a leader. Mm-hmm. And I've your voice rings in my head, or at least what would Ashley do rings in my head because of your sensitivity to going, how's the team feeling? What's going on with them? What are they, and what do I need to be aware of? And I think a lot of leaders struggle with that, right? That a lot of leaders struggle to give time and attention to the care of their team. And so I would love, first of all, it'd be fun to see if you even remember that story, if I've completely embellished it, or there probably were 20 like it where I just didn't even hear you. But how would you encourage leaders to slow down to see people? What are some of the things you've learned around that? How would you coach leaders like me that sometimes can be too driven? I'd love to just hear your response to that.
Sure. I do remember, and I do think we probably had a few moments like that, just of, hey, I'm sensing that maybe this feels overwhelming, or I think they've got some stuff going on in their personal lives that might be, causing them to feel a little distracted or divided. And what I would say is leaders like me need leaders like you, the same as leaders like you need leaders like me.
That's right.
And so it is just backing up to remember that we all have a place on the team. The driven visionaries, we would never get anywhere without you. We would never accomplish anything. Mm-hmm. And the more attuned relational leaders, we don't want to get to any stated goal at the expense of our team and their well-being. And so it's bringing the strengths together. And I mean, you teach this so well, Jenni, and I've learned so much from you about self-leadership and about being aware of, what is it? What's my bent? What's my strength in this area? What am I, needing to work on? And then sometimes the needing to work on is, who do I need to invite in? Whose voice do I need to have to debrief with? Like you said, because your wisdom was, well, maybe I'm blowing past this. I need to ask. And the fact that you did pause to ask the question is the important part of that conversation, because then once you pause and ask the question, I have a rhythm that I work through a lot right now. It's just pause, pray, proceed. It's just when we pause, it gives time for the questions to rise up. Okay, who do I need to check on? What's the I believe you had me read the book, The Question Behind the Question.
Probably
before I explore what the answer is. Where's the question coming from? Sure, what's underneath this? Is it a performance issue with one of my team members that is, kind of indicating to me that something's off that I need to check on them about? Is it a personality thing that their personality seems to have changed in a way that, is kind of that little flag raising, let's just check in. Yeah. And so I think my encouragement is not like, hey, try to be someone you're not.
Right.
It's just,
yeah,
take that pause, pray through and ask the question, and then kind of trust what comes up, or whoever you've invited into the conversation, go ahead and take a step toward what they're sensing, and see what happens.
Yeah, that's really good. I do think like some of my best growth as a leader occurred, especially around culture and team dynamics, because of the counterbalance of your voice. Like, again, just that power of, and I do think that's really valuable to teams as they're thinking about organizational culture and how critical it is to be thinking about how do we really steward employees well, especially in just the kind of the volatility of the employment dynamic these days.
Right.
It's like, it is a both and recognizing, okay, which end of that spectrum do you tend to lean on? And then having somebody you really trust to be around you, helping you discern the places where you are more likely to have blind spots,
Right.
I'd like to believe I'm a little more aware, but I know under pressure, I'm not. Like, I know that like the more intense the pace, the more that's going on, then I tend to lean back into that driven, figure it out, make it happen. And sure. I have to like actively coach myself, slow down to see people, ask the questions, bring in perspective so that I'm serving the team better ultimately. Ashley, you talk a lot about creating a culture of clarity and care. Mm-hmm. And I love those two words. So I'd love for you to talk about what does that mean to you when you're talking about team culture, those two words, clarity and care. Expand on that for us.
Sure. Well, I know that probably no one is listening that hasn't kind of heard the idea that clarity is kindness, that keeping like that it's one of the leaders' like highest opportunities, I think, for our teams is to bring clarity to the assignment, to the to the vision that we're working toward, and to the values that inform how we're going to work together. And it really is, we can't go anywhere together if we don't see where we are clearly and then see the direction for where we want to go. A little plug for coaching in general. Annie and I are working with a coach right now who took our team, just as a for instance, took our team through an exercise this summer that has been super helpful for us. And it's because we had 3 kind of finish lines coming up for us that we knew in advance, like, we've got a break early in July, but we've got a big, tour, a big project going on prior to that. And then we had a month that we had some other goals in place. And looking at those three finish lines, mm-hmm. and asking, okay, what needs to be done by when, who's going to do it? Yeah. And keeping that kind of in front of our team helped us keep communication high. So particularly because we were going to be in different places than we typically are, that disruption to our norm invited a different type of communication. And so where we would normally not necessarily have a daily check-in, we instituted a daily check-in for the time that we were going to be specifically disrupted by geography. And it was so clarifying.
That's awesome.
It was a quick question. It was like, hey, what are your kind of 3 big rocks that have to, happen today? And what do you need from anybody else to get them done? That's it. Easy. 2 questions. Yep. What are your, how are you going to know today's a success? If these 3 things happen, good day. Yeah. And then truly if we rely on each other as teammates and we can't give and take, if we can't ask and receive, then what are we even doing? So it was a sweet like exercise and really revelatory for us in how we want to move forward even into the fall. Just based on those 2 little daily questions. And so bringing clarity does really allow us to work together better, because we know what we need. We know what we have to give. We know what margin exists. And so that clarity piece is only as good, though, as the care. Because if we're clear, but not checking on our people as entire human beings who bring their emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual selves to their work, then we're neglecting part of our opportunity as their leaders to to serve them beyond the immediate vision. Because I mean, the real is that we're not likely to be on the exact same team forever. Right. And so when they're no longer under our leadership, will they be better emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, because of their time on our team? Like that's an invitation I take really seriously. And I love that. Praying for our team members, but then also knowing their strengths, what makes them tick, what motivates them, what do they love to do in their free time, and then creating our cultures around not just what matters to us as an organization, but around what serves us as a team too.
That's huge. Yeah. What are some other things, Ash, that you guys do regularly that help shape that culture for you guys, like that really help reinforce that culture of clarity and care? Like, are there other rhythms that are just kind of part of your routine?
Well, again, things that I learned from you and from working with you, and then things that that Annie really intuitively leads as a strong she hang on, I'm gonna try to say this better. So there are things that I learned from you and from my time working with you, and then kind of combining those with the way that Annie so intuitively leads our team, that our team values, our kind of core values, the mantras that are on the walls in our office are work hard, play hard, rest hard, pray hard. Mm-hmm. And they are, simple statements that are that do guide us. Now, obviously, there are some kind of driving factors within each of those. But when we think about those values, when we think about the we work hard. Okay, so we're an in-person culture by and large. So we show up on time and we stay until the job's done. And often that means we find ourselves eating lunch around the table together. And so there are opportunities for knowing each other because of the proximity, because of the just that time spent together. And so the expectation's clear. We're here and we're here on time and we stay until we're done. But then the care comes in with the opportunity to have the hallway conversations. It's not so much hallway as much as we're kind of in a constant conversation. We're a loud team. We kind of yell from office to office, and it's fun and informal. But a couple of other things that we do to reinforce that. I mean, we have weekly rhythms with our staff meetings and with our just the accountability of keeping things visible. That's another one of the exercises that our coach has taken us through. Everybody needs a coach. That's the plug. Everybody needs a coach.
It is true. It is true.
One of the things that our coach has talked with us about is he's like, everybody knows about SMART goals. Have you ever heard about FAST goals? And I was like, no, tell me more. And he talks about, it's an acronym that refers to frequently reviewed, ambitious, specific, and transparent. And so frequently reviewed, meaning we go over them at staff meeting every week, or in our one-on-one meetings, or, as the case may be. Ambitious being, like we're going to go for it. We're going to try some things.
Yep.
Specific is one that, is pretty self-explanatory, but then the transparent part is where we keep the conversation going about, hey, I'm struggling with this part. Can we meet and talk about this? Or does anybody have any ideas about such and such? Or, hey, I'm not going to hit this deadline, but it's because my attention has been diverted over here. Just want to make sure you guys know. And so that transparency is a real asset in keeping the clarity high. But that's it helps us help each other,
Yeah, I love that. Kind of gives a fresh, we've all heard the SMART goal thing, but it kind of gives that fresh way to think about the goal process.
Yes. And I will say, I haven't actually finished the book, but it comes from Steve Preda and Gregory Cleary's book, Pinnacle. So I can't fully plug it because, like I said, I haven't finished it, but so far, very helpful.
So good. I love it. And that's good.
When I think about what else we do for care, there's fun built in. It's part of the brand. It's part of what we do as a company. And so we go to ball games together and we make sure that we have time scheduled outside of work time to just be together and be doing something fun. But we take breaks. So we do actually rest hard. We take a break in the summer and in the winter, in addition to regular PTO, that our teams can take on their own. And then we do summer hours where we can try to actually access the sunshine at some point.
Nice.
Getting out of here a little bit early or whatever the case may be. Again, looking to serve our team well right now as whole humans and set them up that whenever, God forbid that it happens anytime soon, but whenever we are not on a team together, that we are all better for having been in this place together.
That's really good. Ash, this is so helpful. And I just love hearing your approach and heart for caring for the team. What final thought or encouragement would you leave to the listeners, the leaders that are listening going, okay, gosh, I know there's work we need to do in our culture. How would you encourage them?
It doesn't have to all be done at once.
Yes.
Identify one step you'd like to take and just take it. It's okay to take it clumsy. That's okay to try something and decide you need a different iteration the next time. But what the people that have been entrusted to your leadership will remember is that you saw them and that you cared. And that care is not always a touchy-feely, emotional type of care. That care is also, hey, I see something in you and I want to encourage you toward growth in that area. Or, there are avenues of care that take place best when we know our people. Mm-hmm. And so that's the real opportunity, I think, is do the discovery work. Dig in to understand who they are, what makes them tick, what they're amazing at, the areas they need to grow. Be the biggest student of who it is you're leading so that you can take them somewhere great.
All right, friends. Did that get you thinking? Were you a little convicted about the care side of things? Maybe you get that and that comes naturally for you. You heard me share how that is the side of my development as a leader that I've really had to grow in. And Ashley was such a key part of my growth as a leader in that. And so I hope that was helpful and just helped you see how a leader is doing it in the trenches. Ashley's in the work, leading a team actively day to day. So she is actually in the work and wrestling through all the complexities of a fast-growing organization and maintaining the healthy culture of a team. So I hope that was helpful to you. If it was, share it, pass it along, tell somebody else about it that you think might be inspired by it, and then let us know what you thought. email me at podcast@getforesight.com. Let me know what you want to hear more of. Let me know what you want to hear less of. Let me know what's most helpful to you, because ultimately we want the podcast to be a place where you are equipped to keep learning and growing and leading well. So again, if it was helpful, share it, rate it, review it, do all those fun things because they help a lot. And then in the meantime, keep leading well.